Okay, so today I want to talk about 10 things people hate about Santa Clarita. Hate might be a strong word. Maybe I should say they complain about Santa Clarita. I'm Tammy Cicerella with the Cicerella team at RE/MAX of Santa Clarita. And I know it might be weird to have a realtor telling you about things that people don't like about an area. But you know what? If it's something that's not your cup of tea, then you should know about it up front before you make a decision to make a move here. Okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to start off with heat. So it is August right now, and it is over 100 degrees. And it is not over 100 degrees every day, but today's like 102. And there's actually a tad bit of a humidity, which we don't have a whole lot of humidity here compared to most parts of the country. But you definitely have to be prepared that there will be quite a few days over 100 degrees. Sometimes there's even a week in a row where we're over 100 degrees. And there's a lot of days in the 90s. So if heat is not your thing, Santa Clarita may not be the right place for you. Number 2, traffic. So Santa Clarita has grown a lot in the last 20 to 30 years. I mean, it's grown a lot in the last 10 years. So we do have some traffic issues here. We have put in a lot of new roads. There's a Cross Valley connector that goes all the way from the 5 all the way across town to the 14. There's Plum Canyon that now goes through as well. There's been, road widenings. There's been all kinds of things to help with the issue, but bottom line is there are still some traffic issues. Now, if you compare us to the San Fernando Valley or LA, not really a thing. But when you compare us to other parts of the country or other areas, then yes, we do have some traffic issues. So you definitely want to keep that in mind if you're thinking about making a move to Santa Clarita and traffic is not your thing. Number 3, tract homes. So we do have mainly tract homes in Santa Clarita. So if you are looking for like that custom home, that we do have some areas that have it, but if you're looking for just, an area that every home's a little different, there's some uniqueness, every neighborhood, Santa Clarita is tract home driven. Now there are, like I said, some areas that do have some custom homes, and there are areas, older neighborhoods that, there's a lot more originality to some of the houses because they're older and they've been redone and remodeled and they may look different than most of their neighbors. But overall, we are a tract home type neighborhood, which means also a lot of smaller lots. And we do have some good sized lots as well. And when you compare us to other parts of LA County, we do have some really nice sized lots, but we do have, for the most part, some smaller lots as well. Number 4, Mello-Roos. So a lot of the newer construction out here does have what's called a Mello-Roos tax. That is an additional tax that shows up on your property tax bill. That bill covers like your roads and your infrastructure, your police departments, fire departments, all of that. And what's happened is some builders, instead of paying that up front, they're actually putting that into the tax bill. So you actually are paying less for the house. If it didn't have the Mello-Roos tax, you'd be paying more for the house because the builder would have paid more in order to be able to build that house. So that's how it came about. The builder didn't have to come up with quite so much up front. They could get their bill done. The consumer would come buy the house and they would have that extra bit onto their loan. Now those bonds are usually 30-year bonds. So if you buy a house that's 20 years old, they may only have 10 years left on that bond. But if you buy a brand new house, it's probably about 30 years. And there are some that are 20 to 40, but the majority of them are 30-year bonds. So you want to make sure you know what that is. That being said, Mello-Roos isn't this big, huge negative that a lot of people think it is. I mean, it's not great, don't get me wrong, but do take into consideration if you're comparing apples to apples and you had 2 houses exactly the same and one had a Mello-Roos tax and one didn't, you are going to pay more for the house that does not have that Mello-Roos tax. So the purchase price is going to be higher. So just something to keep in mind. Number 5 is HOAs. Now this could be a positive for a lot of people, but for some people it is a negative. So if you don't like the fact that, an HOA is going to tell you, what color you can paint your house, they're going to tell you what you can and can't plant in your front yard sometimes. They have to approve the landscaping, things of that nature, then maybe an HOA is not for you. A lot of people like HOAs too because of the fact that you do with an HOA, your neighbor next door is not going to paint their house green with purple polka dots. You know that your neighbors are going to have to keep the landscaping up or else they could get a fine. If their trim isn't painted and it starts peeling and there's peeling paint everywhere, they could get fined, and so HOA is going to make them get that painted. Another benefit to the HOAs. Now not all HOAs have this, but a lot of HOAs have pools, spas, tennis courts, clubhouses, park areas. Some even have swim teams that they organize for the kids. They have events for the family. There's all kinds of things with HOAs. So it's positive and a negative. So it just depends upon you, but there is a complaint I do hear from some homeowners for the Santa Clarita Valley. Okay, so now we are on number 6, fires. So we are a valley. We are surrounded by mountains. We are in Southern California and we do have fires. So fires is not just just about Santa Clarita, that's about all of California. So in California, we do have fire season. So you do have to be aware. You need to make sure you really, take that into consideration when you're choosing your home. Some houses are closer to the mountains and closer to the brush than others. So it's something you have to just decide what is important to you. Is it if you want to have like a house, you kind of like living by the ocean. If you want to live by the ocean and you're right on the ocean, there's a possibility that, there could be some issues when there's a high tide and things of that nature. Same thing with fire. So you have to make sure you keep all that, take that into consideration as well. Another big one, number 7, earthquakes. If you don't live in California now and you're moving to California, you have to be aware there's earthquakes. So I'm a California girl. I grew up here. So I have been through numerous earthquakes, couple really big earthquakes even. Nobody likes them. Nobody gets used to them. But you do have, depending on where you're at in the country, you're going to have earthquakes, or you could have landslides, or you could have tornadoes or floods. So it just depends upon where you're at. You got to pick your poison. And number 8, I know we covered traffic, but traffic is really like around town traffic. But we also are a bedroom community. It is growing. So there are a lot of big companies moving to the area. But at the same time, we are still considered a bedroom community. A lot of people commute. So there's a lot of people that commute either to LA, the San Fernando Valley, Glendale, Palmdale, Lancaster. I even have a client that commutes to Bakersfield. So just depending upon where you're going to be working, you may be commuting. So my recommendation is if you know that you're going to start work at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're going to get off at 5, worst times, by the way, then you want to make sure you make the drive at those times a day so you can confirm that you're okay with that drive. And there's going to be days it's better, and there's going to be days where there's accidents and it's worse. And if it's a holiday weekend, Friday mornings are great, but Friday evenings coming back from San Fernando Valley or LA are horrible. I'm just going to be honest with you. Number 9 is nightlife. We do not have as much nightlife as some people would like. So it doesn't affect me. I'm married. Nightlife isn't a big deal for me. But for some people it is. So we do have some nightlife here. Don't get me wrong. There's not no nightlife. We do have some really good restaurants, and we do have some newer restaurants that have been coming into the area, not just chain restaurants, nicer restaurants. And like downtown Newhall just went through a renovation and has Main Street, and there's some really nice bars, restaurants, wineries right there on Main Street. However, in comparison to some other areas, we do not have much nightlife. So if nightlife is important to you, then you are going to have to plan on the fact that you're going to have to drive for some nightlife. So you're going to be driving down to either like the San Fernando Valley, LA, Glendale, Burbank area. It just depends upon what you're looking for. But we do have some, like I said, we have the Canyon Room. We have a few other bars and restaurants around town that have a couple, have some extracurricular activities going on in the evening where there's some dancing and things of that nature. But for the most part, you're probably going to want to leave the valley if you're really looking for nightlife. Number 10 is the price of housing here. If you're coming from another state and you're moving to California, for most people, depending upon where you're coming from, housing is going to be more expensive here. There's just no way to get around it. You are moving to California. However, if you're looking at Santa Clarita, we are about just above average for California. And this was a study done in 2020 because we haven't done one this year. But California's about 86th percentile as far as the cost of housing. For Santa Clarita, when you compare it to California, we're a little above average for the homes in California as far as our average price here. Now, if you compare us to LA County, we're a little below average. So it just depends upon where in California you're looking. If you're wanting to make a move here, prices are not super low here, but they aren't crazy high either. We're a little above average for the state of California and a little below average if you're just looking at LA County. So I know you probably think it's weird because here I am a real estate agent and I'm telling you all the negatives, but I want you to make an educated decision. So make sure, again, that you subscribe to our channel, you come back and visit, you really investigate the different areas, because we do have different areas within Santa Clarita as well. And if you've seen some of our other videos, we talk about the 6 different areas of Santa Clarita. So if you ever have any questions, feel free, reach out and give us a call. Again, I'm Tammy Cicerella with the Cicerello team at RE/MAX of Santa Clarita. Have a great day.